I have always believed that life's deepest truths aren't revealed amidst the noise, but rather in the quiet stillness, that mysterious moment when you sense a stirring within, as if an invisible force is calling you to a path few dare to tread. I still recall the first time I felt it, a sense that there was a hidden code behind human achievement, a silent mechanism propelling a select few toward prosperity while the majority remained mired in mediocrity. And every consequence has a cause. The cause is simple: repeating a behavior that moves you in the right direction, even when no one believes in you, even when you're tired, even when the results haven't yet materialized. And if you truly apply this principle, you will realize something powerful. The world doesn't reward those who start. I observed men who accumulated fortunes of tens of millions of dollars and realized that almost none of them had been born with a silver spoon in their mouth. Some were immigrants, others were factory workers, others had lost everything before triumphing. What they had in common was not exceptional talent, nor above-average intelligence. It was the unwavering decision to press on when anyone else would have thrown in the towel. That thought struck me like an emotional blow, and curiously, instead of discouraging me, it stirred something strange within me, almost a silent rebellion against the fate they expected me to accept. It was the first time in my life I felt a flicker of persistence ignite within me, as if a flame was being kindled. But the truth is, persistence without direction only leads to exhaustion. I saw extremely talented individuals fail, and I saw ordinary, even limited people amass seemingly impossible fortunes. Why? How? Perhaps you too have asked yourself these questions. Perhaps deep down, you also feel that it's not a lack of intelligence, nor will, nor capability, but that there's some invisible force stubbornly pulling you down whenever you strive for a better life. What if that something is merely the absence of a single habit? This makes me wonder, how many extraordinary achievements are never realized because someone gives up a day before being rewarded? And here's something important. Most people don't realize that discipline and persistence are not virtues reserved for the strong. They are muscles, and muscles are built. The difference between those who succeed and those who fail is simple. Those who succeed endure daily discomforts that the unsuccessful avoid. This left a deep impression on me because, in that same period, I had a moment that could have utterly ruined my life. It was when I published a series of investigative articles, and some of them were harshly criticized. I was young, immature, and I confess that the criticisms cut me like a knife. For a few days, I considered giving up writing. I believed I lacked the ability, or perhaps was deluding myself. To this day, I remember the bitter feeling in my stomach, but something happened to me that shattered that pattern forever. I remember a specific day when I was still very young, carrying buckets of water and coal to help with small household chores. I was tired, my hands ached, my body too frail for the burden. But what truly weighed on me was something else, the feeling that if I simply accepted my lot, I would die the same way I was born, without ever truly discovering what I was made of. But it was precisely there that I discovered the true power of persistence. Something within me insisted, almost like a voice, continue, continue, continue. And it was by persisting that I received the unexpected invitation for an interview with the wealthiest man of our century. If I had given up the day I was criticized, none of my work would have ever come to be. Isn't it surprising to realize that most people live trapped in this endless cycle, believing that bad luck, fate, or misfortune are to blame, when, in truth, it's the absence of persistence that silently erodes dreams? Carnegie told me something that still echoes in my mind today. Discipline is the price of freedom, and the more I investigated success stories, the more this was confirmed. In that moment, I felt a mix of surprise and unease, as if someone was finally unveiling what I had always known but never dared to admit. And a question burned in my mind. Did I truly possess enough discipline and persistence to transform my own life? Or was I like those people who waited for fate to change on its own? Have you ever asked yourself that question? The truth, my friend, is that most people don't fail due to a lack of capability. They fail due to a lack of patience. They fail because they give up on the third day, on the seventh day, on the 10th day, always just before reaping what they've sown. How many times have you started a new habit that could change your life, only to abandon it because it felt too challenging? How many opportunities have you seen slip away because the emotion of the moment overshadowed discipline? How many times have you told yourself that tomorrow would be different, but tomorrow ended up being an exact replica of yesterday? I observed this from a young age and often wondered to myself, why do some succeed so unequivocally while so many others toil their entire lives only to die with nothing? Is there a pattern? Is there a law? Is there something we're all overlooking? It was this questioning that led me down a path from which I could never truly turn back, and I confess, the more I investigated, the more intriguing reality became. And precisely because they avoid them, they remain stuck living the life they don't want. Have you noticed how most people work hard yet remain poor? It's not a lack of effort, it's a lack of direction and repetition. Discipline without repetition doesn't exist. Persistence without purpose doesn't last. And before we conclude this first part, I want to leave you with an idea that might be unsettling, but could change everything. Wealth is not a privilege, it is a consequence. What if all that separates you from a prosperous life is a small daily shift that almost no one is willing to make? That thought in itself should ignite a spark in your mind. I had to learn this the hard way. As a child, I lived in an impoverished region, surrounded by people who believed the most they could aspire to was arduous labor in the coal mines. Almost everyone around me considered poverty an inescapable fate, etched into their very being. That's why, when I later had the unexpected opportunity to interview Andrew Carnegie, I felt I had found what was missing to keep that flame alive. He observed me for long seconds before saying something that completely changed my perspective on life. That wealth wasn't in one's pockets but in one's behavior, that money was merely a reflection of a man's discipline, and that persistence was the sole common thread among all who had built fortunes. It rewards those who continue. As I progressed with my investigations and interviews across the United States, I noticed something increasingly evident. Human beings are afraid to believe in themselves. Have you ever noticed that? How many times have you had a good idea, but hesitated because you thought you wouldn't have enough capability? How many times have you imagined a better life, but your mind immediately conjured up excuses? It's too late. I don't have the necessary money. I don't know the right people. I wasn't born for this. Most people live trapped by these internal voices without realizing that each one weakens discipline, destroys persistence, and silently carves out a destiny of limitations. And the question is, how long will you accept this invisible prison? I heard stories from men of all social classes and realized that the fear of failure was always greater than failure itself. Fear devours more dreams than any crisis, war, or poverty. And the more I observed this, the more I understood that the key to wealth lay not just in knowledge, but in the mastery of emotions. That's why I ask, how many important decisions have you failed to make because you feared others' judgment? How many opportunities have you let pass because you believed it wasn't for you? If you knew how many brilliant individuals I've known who died poor because they didn't believe in themselves, you would never allow that fear to control you again. If there's one thing I've learned throughout my life, it's that discipline doesn't start in the body, it begins in the mind. The body only executes what the mind accepts as truth. When I began writing my first major manuscript, I faced enormous internal resistance. They weren't just financial difficulties, they were doubts. There were times when I seriously considered abandoning the project because no publisher initially wanted to take it on. But each time discouragement tried to overwhelm me, I remembered something Carnegie had told me. The great works of the world were accomplished by men who persevered just a little beyond the point where others gave up. It was almost like hearing life itself ask me, "Are you going to stop now, after coming so far?" Do you too experience this same internal conflict sometimes? And it was during this period that I experienced one of the most challenging experiences of my journey, something that even today causes a gentle ache in my chest when I recall it. I was sitting at a table with a handful of coins and a debt I didn't know how I would repay. It was night, it was raining outside, and my young son slept in the next room. There was a lantern illuminating my notebook, and the feeling of failure weighed heavily. For a few moments, I thought about seeking an ordinary job to secure the bare essentials. But at that very moment, something shifted. I heard my son softly coughing in his room, and a thought struck me like lightning. If I gave up then, I wouldn't just be abandoning a book. I'd be forsaking my family's future. It was this blend of fear and responsibility that compelled me to press on, not because it was easy, but because I understood that giving up would exact a far greater toll than any temporary sacrifice. Sometimes, life only truly transforms when you uncover a reason powerful enough to make you persist. Have you found yours yet? I then realized a profound truth. Self-discipline isn't about enjoying the routine, it's about cultivating a purpose that utterly outweighs any excuse. And the more I wrote, the more I grasped that wealth is simply the accumulated outcome of disciplined decisions made day after day, for years on end. There's no magic, no secret formula hoarded by powerful figures, no shortcuts. There's only the quiet habit of doing what needs to be done, while most opt for immediate comfort. And this is something anyone, including you, can start right now, without relying on anyone else, without waiting for perfect conditions, without needing motivation. By this point in my life, I had already interviewed men who had amassed fortunes of tens of millions of dollars, and I noticed that the difference between them and the average person was almost always emotional. While some would give up at the first sign of trouble, others would persevere until the world inevitably had to yield. Persistence cultivates a kind of authority over one's destiny, and that authority only truly emerges when you decide that not stopping is the sole viable option. Consider this. Have you ever seen a disciplined and persistent person remain in destitution their entire life, perhaps temporarily, but permanently? I never have, because the world has a curious way of opening doors for those who insist enough. And now, before I continue revealing the next major insight, I need to ask you for something important. If this content has resonated with you so far, if it's stirring something within you, then please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This might seem like a simple gesture, but the truth is it keeps this work alive, allows these ideas to reach more people, and ensures that more content like this can be produced. And if this video is helping you in any way, reciprocating with that click is a powerful means of strengthening this message and enabling it to reach other lives that might be in dire need of it. Now take a deep breath, because in the next segment, we'll delve even deeper into the mechanism that transforms discipline and persistence into genuine wealth. And perhaps this is precisely what you've been seeking for years without realizing it. As I progressed in my research and spent time with prominent industrialists, inventors, and leaders of that era, I began to see with absolute clarity that discipline and persistence weren't merely tools to acquire wealth. They were the invisible foundations supporting everything we label as success. And the more I observed human behavior, the more I recognized how most people were being defeated not by their circumstances, but by their own ingrained habits. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to start something with enthusiasm, yet how challenging it is to continue when that initial excitement wanes? It's as if the entire world is conditioned to seek shortcuts, but shortcuts invariably come with steep interest rates. To illustrate this, I recall an episode I witnessed during a conversation with a young entrepreneur of that period. He possessed a brilliant vision, undeniable talent, but harbored a fatal flaw. He constantly sought immediate results. Whenever his initiatives demanded more time, more patience, or more sacrifice, he would abandon them and try something else. And each abandonment left him more disheartened, more insecure, more convinced that the problem lay with a lack of opportunity. Like so many others, he failed to realize that the real issue was his inability to sustain the effort required to transform intention into reality. And here an uncomfortable question arises. How many times have you done the same? How many projects have you started but never finished? How many dreams have you buried because they demanded more discipline than you were willing to offer? I always say that persistence is life's ultimate test. It's where many give up and only a few persevere. It's where the average person is separated from the one who decides to author their own destiny. It was precisely because I understood this that I developed the conviction that every person needs to establish a clear objective and work towards it with unwavering determination. Without that, everything crumbles. Have you ever observed that most people speak enthusiastically about their dreams, yet live as if those dreams were impossible? It's almost as if their words are disconnected from their actions. This is the primary reason so many feel frustrated, because they desire intensely, but act superficially. During my interviews with highly successful men, I observed something that recurred impressively. None of them attributed their prosperity to mere chance. Not one. They spoke to me of sleepless nights, years of toil, tough decisions, and hundreds of failed attempts before finally achieving a breakthrough. Some even invested tens of thousands of dollars in projects that seemed improbable, but which, through continuous discipline, eventually blossomed into fortunes. While the average person fears risking a single penny, these few understood that the cost of progress always precedes the reward. And I often wondered, why are so few willing to pay that price? Have you, listening to me now, ever held yourself back because you were afraid to invest in yourself? And this brings me to a personal experience that profoundly impacted me. Once, when I was still quite young and striving to establish myself as a writer, I decided to travel to another city to personally deliver a manuscript to an editor who, supposedly, had an appreciation for new talent. The journey consumed the last few dollars I possessed, and I harbored enormous expectations. But upon arriving there, after hours of waiting, he rejected my work without even reading it. He stated that the world didn't need another ambitious author. The feeling of humiliation was so intense that for a few minutes I regretted having believed so strongly in myself. I recall the wet street after the rain, how the wind felt too cold, and how heavy my legs seemed as I walked back to the train station. For a few moments I felt a profound, almost paralyzing sadness. But it was precisely there, in that emotionally painful moment, that I grasped something I've never forgotten. It wasn't him rejecting me, it was life testing me, and I was not going to fail that test. Perhaps you too have experienced a situation where you felt as though everything was conspiring against you. And perhaps today, looking back, you'll realize it was merely life wanting to know if you truly desired it. From that point onward, I made a crucial decision. Never again would I allow one man's opinion to dictate my destiny. And that is a lesson that, if you truly internalize it, can alter your entire trajectory. Discipline demands that you carry on even when no one believes. Persistence demands that you carry on even when no one is watching. The world is brimming with wasted talent, but it will never be overflowing with the disciplined. This is why so few achieve true wealth. Because genuine wealth isn't merely an amount in a bank account. It's the ability to stand firm when everyone else gives up. And perhaps the most striking realization of all is how this truth manifests in every area of life. The person who lacks the discipline to control their impulses spends more than they should, even though they know it jeopardizes their dreams. The person who fails to persist in a marriage, in a job, in a project, invariably ends up having to start over from scratch. And restarting when it's not by choice comes at a high price. It costs years of your life. Have you ever considered how much time you've already lost by restarting? How much emotional energy has drained away because you abandoned something prematurely? Isn't that a terrifying thought? I came to understand that persistence is the greatest testament of faith a person can offer to their own future. When you persist, you declare to the universe that you believe in what you cannot yet see. And the universe, in a way I cannot explain, responds. It always responds. In the next section, I will reveal a principle known to few, one that transforms discipline into real, almost inevitable results. The deeper I delved into the lives of truly successful individuals, the more I recognized a hidden mechanism driving them all, a simple yet potent force that converted discipline into progress and persistence into inevitable outcomes. This force was habit. Not habit understood superficially, but habit as a silent law of the human mind, capable of shaping entire destinies. And I ask you, have you ever noticed how small actions, repeated daily, possess the power to either build or dismantle a life? Have you ever realized that a person can undermine years of effort simply by yielding to laziness, fear, or procrastination in a single moment? Isn't it astonishing that so many desire wealth, yet so few are willing to cultivate the habit that sustains it? I learned that discipline isn't born from a desire for change, but rather from repetition. You might wish for a better life. You might dream of greater prosperity. You might visualize a promising future. But none of that guarantees your desired outcomes. What determines who triumphs isn't what they wish for, but what they consistently repeat. When I was writing my books, time and time again I had to face lonely nights, cold, hunger, and exhaustion. There were no applause, no guarantees, no promises. But there was something greater, the certainty that every page written was a brick laid in the construction of a future that only I could envision. What about you? What brick are you laying today? Or are you waiting for someone else to build it for you? I realize that most people live in a prison made of emotions. If they are motivated, they work. If they are tired, they stop. If they are confident, they advance. If they are scared, they hide. But the truth is, life doesn't bend to our emotions. It responds to our actions. The world doesn't reward those who feel. It rewards those who do. And this was one of the greatest revelations I had when observing men who accumulated fortunes of tens of millions of dollars. They didn't depend on mood, motivation, or energy. They depended on habit. A habit strong enough to overcome any emotional fluctuation. That's why I ask, how many times have you hidden behind your emotions? How many opportunities have you lost because you weren't in the mood? It's hard to admit, but perhaps you've been repeating this pattern for years. During my travels, I interviewed an inventor whose name I prefer not to mention, but who lived obsessed with his creations. He had failed dozens of times, lost money, respect, and even friendships. Many called him stubborn, others crazy. But to me, he was the personification of persistence. He had a singular habit. Every day, without fail, he dedicated a fixed period to refining his invention, regardless of the previous day's result. Rain or shine, whether he was excited or frustrated, he followed his ritual. And it was precisely this unquestionable discipline that, years later, led him to build something that revolutionized his field. The curious thing is that when he finally achieved success, many said it was luck. But I had seen it firsthand. There was no luck, there was habit. And that left a deep impression on me. But perhaps the most revealing moment of my own life came when I faced a personal crisis that almost destroyed my spirit. I had worked for years on an ambitious project, gathering interviews, notes, and reflections. It was precious material that I intended to turn into a book capable of helping millions of people. However, in an unexpected turn, part of these manuscripts was lost. The feeling of despair was so intense that it gave me the impression that my chest had been emptied. For a few minutes I remained completely still, just staring at the empty space where the pages should have been. And it was there, in that painful silence, that something curious happened. Instead of giving in to discouragement, I heard a phrase echo within me, almost as if it came from a place I couldn't identify. What is lost can be remade, but the man who gives up cannot be restored. I felt a mixture of sadness and determination, and in that instant I decided to rewrite everything, every line, every idea, every achievement. It was a tremendous effort, and many times tears streamed down without me noticing. But today, looking back, I realized that episode didn't destroy my work. It strengthened my spirit. Perhaps you are experiencing something similar, a loss that seems irreversible, a failure that seems definitive. But what if it's just an invitation from life to rebuild even stronger? Now, there is something few people understand. Discipline and persistence are not isolated virtues. They work together. One creates the path, the other ensures you stay on it. Discipline without persistence is abandoned at the first obstacle. Persistence without discipline is energy wasted in the wrong direction. But when the two unite, they create a powerful phenomenon capable of transforming the mind, habits, character, and inevitably, income. Because yes, income responds to behavior. Money dislikes laziness. It doesn't respect doubt. It doesn't remain in the hands of those who don't know how to control it. Money is attracted by disciplined character. Money is faithful to routines. Money obeys purpose. And here I want to offer something that might bring about a profound change in your life. A challenge. For the next 30 days, choose a single, simple action that you know, repeated daily, can transform your reality. It could be saving a small amount every day. It could be studying a specific field for 30 minutes daily. It could be waking up earlier. It could be writing, planning, or training your mind. But choose and commit. For 30 days, even on the difficult days, especially on the difficult days. At the end of that period, observe the transformation. Perhaps it starts small, but I guarantee it will be real. Because the man who masters himself for 30 days is stronger than the one who spent 30 years waiting for motivation. In the next part, I will reveal the conclusion of all this, the final link that connects discipline, persistence, and wealth in a way that few can truly see. After decades studying human behavior, interviewing extraordinary individuals, and silently observing the lives of those who achieved true prosperity, I realized that all my discoveries pointed in a single direction. Behind every great fortune, there was an invisible pattern that only a few can grasp and which, when understood, transforms discipline into power and persistence into inevitability. This pattern is self-determination. Not that vague idea of willpower, but the deep, unshakable inner decision that nothing, absolutely nothing, will be able to stop you from achieving what you have determined for yourself. Have you ever felt something like this? Have you ever felt that your whole life was pushing you in one direction, but a stronger inner desire was still pulling you in another? It is in this conflict that destiny is decided. Self-determination is the bridge between the man who dreams and the man who achieves. I discovered this in practice, because despite having interviewed some of the wealthiest and most influential men in the United States, despite having received invaluable guidance from Andrew Carnegie and other notable leaders, I still faced moments when everything seemed to fall apart. No matter how much wisdom you accumulate, how much experience you gain, how much advice you receive, life will always find a way to test your determination. And the curious thing is that these tests never come in moments of strength but of weakness. The question is, when these tests appear, do you retreat or advance? Once, I experienced a moment that deeply marked my understanding of self-determination. I was working on a project that consumed an enormous amount of mental effort. It was something I deeply believed could help thousands of people, perhaps millions in the future. However, I faced a constant obstacle: opposition from people close to me. Some said I was wasting my time. Others claimed my ideas were impractical. There were even those who called me a naive dreamer. I remember one particular night, sitting at my desk, exhausted, with several pages scattered, and I felt a frustration so profound that my eyes filled with tears. Not from physical pain, but from a sense of helplessness. It was a silent night, where the world seemed indifferent to my effort. And in that silence, I decided something that completely changed my trajectory. I decided to no longer live for the approval of others. It was as if a huge weight had been lifted from my shoulders. There I understood that self-determination is the courage to remain true to one's own purpose, even when no one else understands it. Have you ever been through that? Have you ever felt that you were alone in what you believed, but still something inside you insisted on continuing? Over time, I came to understand that this decision to stand firm was one of the pillars of wealth. Because the world will always offer reasons for you to give up. There will always be tough days, unfair criticism, moments of discouragement. But what separates those who become wealthy from those who remain in the same cycle is precisely this ability to keep going when everything seems unfavorable. I often say that true persistence is emotional, not physical. You can endure hard work, you can resist temporary hunger, you can deal with difficult conditions, but can you endure doubt? Can you endure uncertainty? Can you endure the feeling of betting everything on something only you can see? It is at this point that many give up, not because it's difficult, but because they no longer believe they are capable. And self-determination not only strengthens persistence, it shapes character. Disciplined and persistent individuals develop a kind of inner authority. They are not intimidated by obstacles because they know that obstacles are part of the process. They do not allow themselves to be paralyzed by fear because they understand that fear is merely an emotional reaction, not a divine decree. And above all, they do not allow themselves to be influenced by the opinions of others because they know that others' opinions will never pay their bills, never build their future, never open the doors that need to be opened. Only they can do that. I have seen brilliant men ruin their lives because they gave up too soon. I have seen others waste opportunities because they didn't know how to control their impulses, spending more than they should have, living for the pleasure of the moment, and ignoring the building of the future. A life can be destroyed by a lack of discipline, just as it can be rebuilt through it. Think about it. How many lives have you seen put at risk by impulsive decisions? How many talents wasted because the person lacked the patience to wait for the results to mature? How many dreams shattered because someone lacked the persistence to weather the storms? On the other hand, I've seen ordinary men no one would bet a single dollar on, become giants in their fields simply because they committed to daily persistence. They weren't the fastest, nor the most talented, nor the most intelligent, but they possessed a secret strength few have, the absolute determination not to be defeated. And this determination, combined with discipline and persistence, forms an unbreakable tripod. When a person builds this tripod within themselves, it doesn't matter where they start. What matters is only how far they are willing to go. And here is the ultimate summary of everything I've learned about wealth. It never appears suddenly. It is built like a bridge, stone by stone, habit by habit, choice by choice. Wealth is a consequence of who you become, not just what you do. And when you become disciplined, persistent, and determined, wealth has no choice. It is compelled to draw near. Because the world always makes way for the person who knows exactly where they are headed. Now, before you move on to the next video, I want to ask for something important. Please share this video with someone special, someone who might need to hear this message at this very moment, someone who is one step away from giving up, someone who is fighting in silence, someone who perhaps just needs one word to keep going. This simple gesture can change one life, and maybe more than one. I deeply appreciate you walking with me this far, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.